The 90s were full of bold entertainment choices, including the belief that if a movie was even slightly popular, it needed a TV spin-off. Studios were convinced lightning would strike twice, and sometimes it did. But more often than not, we got chaos. Sitcom versions of rom-coms, kid-friendly takes on R-rated movies, iconic characters recast with lesser-known actors. Nothing was off-limits. And while a few of these shows gained cult followings, many quietly faded into pop culture obscurity. So today, we're digging up the movie spin-off TV shows of the 1990s, the ones you forgot about and maybe still own on VHS somewhere. And to keep things neat, we're going from oldest to newest. The Outsiders. The Outsiders TV series picked up right after Francis Ford Coppola's iconic 1983 film, continuing the story of Ponyboy Curtis and the Greasers. It actually had a surprisingly stacked cast for a forgotten show, including a young David Arquette and Billy Bob Thornton. The series leaned harder into small-town drama than the gritty intensity of the movie, focusing on the divide between the Greasers and the Socs. And it was way more emotional than people expected. However, it only ran for one season. But for fans of the film, it felt like a bonus chapter in a story everyone thought was over. Working Girl. Yes, Melanie Griffith's iconic movie got turned into a sitcom. Working Girl followed the same premise. Secretary Tess McGill dreams of making it big. But in the show, Tess was played by none other than Sandra Bullock, a few years before Speed turned her into a household name. The series tried to keep the inspiring underdog vibe alive, with plenty of office drama and romantic complications. Unfortunately, it didn't stand out among the flood of sitcoms airing in 1990. Still, it's a fun hidden gem in Bullock's career. Ferris Bueller. Fresh off the success of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, NBC figured that the next logical step was to turn it into a teen sitcom. Charlie Schlatter stepped in as Ferris, and a pre-Friends Jennifer Aniston played his sister Jeannie. The series tried hard to replicate the movie's laid-back charm, but it struggled to capture the effortless magic of the original. It even insisted that this Ferris was the real one, and that the movie was just inspired by him. Cute idea, but it didn't quite land. Still, looking back, it's a fascinating relic of early 90s just adapt everything TV logic. Uncle Buck. Right after John Candy made Uncle Buck a lovable, chaotic legend, the TV version tried to do the same thing, just faster and louder. This sitcom starred Kevin Meaney as the irresponsible, big-hearted uncle suddenly put in charge of his brother's kids. The dynamic was basically kids need structure, Buck needs life coaching, hijinks ensue. It wasn't bad, but it lacked Candy's magic blend of warmth and mischief, and audiences felt the difference. The show bowed out after one season. That said, it still outlasted the 2016 reboot, so points for that. Baby Talk. If you've ever wondered what Look Who's Talking would be like as a sitcom, Baby Talk is your answer. Loosely based on the movie's premise, the baby narrates his thoughts while everyone else just tries to survive parenthood. The show actually had 2 leads across its run, and the production behind the scenes was famously chaotic. But the real draw? Tony Danza voiced the baby. Yes, Tony Danza. This show is extremely TV in the early 90s energy, light, goofy, and kind of bizarre. But honestly, that's what made it so charming. The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. With George Lucas behind it and impressive production value, this show was one of the most ambitious kids' TV shows of the decade. It followed Indy as a teen and young adult, globetrotting through major historical moments and meeting figures like Pablo Picasso and Al Capone. However, it leaned more educational adventure than pulpy treasure hunting, which may be why it didn't blow up the way the movies did. Still, it gained a devoted fan base, and for many, it was their first cool history lesson. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. Bill and Ted got not one, but 2 TV spin-offs. First an animated series, then this live-action sitcom. The show tried to replicate the movie's slacker time travel energy with new actors, but without Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, it just didn't spark the same magic. The sets felt like a high school play, and the time travel felt more like a gimmick than a vibe. But for die-hard Bill and Ted fans, it's still a fascinating pop culture artifact, like an alternate timeline where the franchise became a Saturday morning staple. Weird Science. Based on the John Hughes movie, Weird Science reimagined the story of 2 nerdy high schoolers who accidentally create the perfect woman through science. The TV version leaned even harder into the supernatural hijinks, with Lisa acting more like a genie granting chaotic wishes than a love interest. It actually ran for 5 seasons on the USA Network, quietly becoming one of the longest-running forgotten movie-to-TV adaptations ever. It's goofy, brightly lit 1994 in a bottle entertainment, and honestly, it embraced the absurdity better than the movie did. Robocop. If you remember the original movie being ultra-violent and satirical, the TV show said, yeah, we're not doing that. The Robocop series toned things way down to appeal to younger viewers, focusing more on justice and cyberpunk world-building than graphic action. Robocop himself was still the tragic half-man, half-machine trying to remember his humanity, but the show leaned into comic book-style villains and moral-of-the-week storytelling. It's not as sharp as the film, but it's surprisingly heartfelt, and a fascinating early attempt at PG cyberpunk TV. Scarlett. Scarlett was a miniseries sequel to Gone with the Wind, based on the novel that continued Scarlett O'Hara's story. And yes, the drama level was high. This had sweeping romance, gorgeous costumes, and enough melodrama to power a soap opera factory. Joanne Whalley-Kilmer and Timothy Dalton stepped into the iconic roles of Scarlett and Rhett, taking the characters through new heartbreaks, new scandals, and a whole lot of tension. It's definitely less classic cinema and more prestige soap, but that's part of its charm, especially for fans of big dramatic historical romance. Clueless. Clueless, the TV show, is exactly what you think it is. More fashion and more Beverly Hills teen chaos. Alicia Silverstone didn't return, but Elisa Donovan, Stacey Dash, and Donald Faison did, making it feel like a real continuation of Cher's world. The show turned the movie's clever satire into a bubbly teen sitcom, and it totally worked. It ran for 3 seasons and became a sleepover TV staple. It didn't reinvent the genre, but it delivered exactly what fans wanted: pretty outfits, cute crushes, and the joy of saying "as if" unironically. Dangerous Minds. Based on the Michelle Pfeiffer movie, you know, the one with Gangsta's Paradise, this series continued the story of Luann Johnson, the ex-Marine turned high school teacher trying to reach her at-risk students. Annie Potts stepped into the role and brought warmth, grit, and humor. The show leaned less inspirational Hollywood moment and more into everyday challenges of teaching. It wasn't groundbreaking TV, but it was sincere, grounded, and occasionally moving. It didn't last long, but it stood out from the sea of sitcoms dominating the era. Police Academy, the series. So yes, Police Academy did get a live-action TV series, and it kept the exact same goofy slapstick tone as the movies, sound effects humor, and characters who should absolutely not be police officers. It had new recruits, new chaos, and gag-a-minute storytelling. The show didn't try to reinvent the franchise, it just doubled down on being silly. It was basically comfort comedy for anyone who liked the movies, and Saturday afternoon background TV for everyone else. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show. This one was actually a hit, you just may not remember it. Peter Scolari took over as Wayne Zielinski, the chaotic inventor whose wacky experiments constantly went very wrong. Each episode featured a new shrink ray disaster, time warp mishap, or bizarre scientific accident the family had to fix. It was wholesome, imaginative, and genuinely fun, like live-action Saturday morning cartoons. And it ran for 3 seasons, making it one of the more successful movie-to-TV transitions of the decade. The Crow, Stairway to Heaven. The Crow movie was dark, tragic, poetic, and the TV series followed in that same gothic spirit. Mark Dacascos stepped into the role of Eric Draven, the musician brought back from the dead to seek justice. The show leaned into emotional storytelling and stylized fight scenes, building out the mythology of the Crow while exploring grief, love, and vengeance. It had a moody 90s alternative vibe. Think long coats, candles, and tragic romance. Fans actually liked it, but due to the sale of the show's production company, it never got a proper ending. So that's our roundup of 90s movie spin-off shows. Know a forgotten adaptation we didn't include? Drop it in the comments. And hey, if you had fun, hit that like button. Check out tvshowpilot.com for more TV throwbacks, and make sure you subscribe to the TV Show Pilot YouTube channel so you don't miss our next video.